that something maybe we can get on for next time? For the standing update?
Hi, Mary Elizabeth. This is Rocio. Yes, for urban greening and vegetative barriers, we do have Little Manila Rising that will be giving an update as they're the ones who took on this measure. Is there
Okay,
something
well, but
specific? Go
the
ahead.
city is involved, in allowing access to, different places. So, you know, they just come and take the money, for yeah, and how about an update on, where they are in using that money? Because, I had visitors come from out of town and they couldn't believe there was no place to park bikes.
This this is Stephanie. Hi, Mary. And I apologize. I think I came a little bit late, but I think the request was in kind of to bring the city here to share kind of their collaboration with the urban greening and vegetative barriers update. Is that correct?
And their $500,000 that they got from us for the bike lanes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Stephanie. Yes, I think that's a great idea. You'll hear as a part of Nico's update, kind of, I think the extent of kind of their relationship and kind of where the grant is right now. But I think it's totally a great idea to bring the city on, especially to talk about the bike lane project because it is actually at a really great point, and I think next month would totally make sense to bring on an update. So we'll add that. Hardware Company, if you can help us track that item to add it to next month's agenda, I think that would be great. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Elizabeth. And
Okay.
I see folks trickling in, so I think this might be a perfect time to go ahead and get started. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to your 64th CSC meeting. My name is Jared Zachary, and I'm joined by my colleague Amy Ramos, and we are delighted to be facilitating tonight's meeting. We hope everyone is staying cool and staying safe. We've heard about some thunderstorms in the valley, and overall, we hope folks had a great Labor Day weekend. In terms of how we'll spend our time together, this month's agenda is designed to provide the CSC with exciting updates. The Air District is going to kick us off with a quarterly air monitoring updates. We will then hear from Little Manila Rising, who will provide updates on urban greening and vegetative barriers. And then we will then be followed by a clean air room update from the Air District. Tonight's meeting will be primarily high-level updates, but as always, feel free to provide or ask any questions by typing in the chat or raising your hand to come off mute. Now, before we get started with our meeting, we would like to go ahead and walk through some meeting logistics. Although this is familiar to many of you all, it's always great to have a refresher. So give me 1 second while I share my screen. Second. Is everyone able to see the presentation all right? Yeah, thank you. So before we get started, as a reminder, please remember to mute yourself and make sure your full name and organization are showing as your screen name. To change your name, click on the top right side of your picture or video. For CSC members, use the following naming convention of CSC first and last name. If you're a resident, you can do the same with R first and last. All other participants, such as Air District or CARB, the general public, or any other organization, can use the naming convention of first and last name in your affiliation. So P for general public, all organizations can write out their name. And as a reminder, having the right screen name is helpful for us as we track attendance. If you want to link your phone audio to video, you can click the caret right next to the unmute symbol and then click switch to phone audio. You then can select to have a phone call or the call me and enter your phone number. And I don't think we have any folks using interpretation, but if there are, you should not link their account. Again, here is just another reminder to please update your screen name with the following conventions. If you need any help, you can always message in the chat, and a member of Hardware Company, myself or Amy, or someone from the Air District will help you manually rename yourself. Again, this is helpful for attendance tracking and anyone who is in the stipend program. Again, just some virtual meeting etiquette. We ask folks to stay on mute unless you are speaking. If you're joined by phone, you can use *6. Please raise your blue Zoom hand to ask any questions during a presentation or a Q&A. You can use *9 if you're joining by phone. Residents in the stipend program should stay for at least 75% of the meeting to be eligible for a stipend. And so, for example, that would be 90 minutes of a 2-hour meeting. And please state your name before sharing a comment to allow for smooth interpretation of our conversation. And then again, we always strive to have a productive and respectful dialogue. And so these are just some group agreements to help achieve that. Overall, we want to help achieve the meeting goals and focus on solutions and opportunities. We want to let everyone participate, so remember to step up and step back. We want a civil and respectful dialogue. It's always okay to disagree, but make sure we're being respectful and empathetic. We want to stay on point and on time. Please keep comments brief and to the point to allow enough time for everyone to participate. We want to attack the problem and not the person by respectfully challenging ideas, but making sure we're honoring everyone's person, humanity, and dignity. And we want to see common ground by building consensus and finding shared values to make sure we're achieving the best results. So this is our agenda for this evening. We are currently in welcome and introductions. We will then move to reviewing the action items tracker. At 5:20, we will be doing our quarterly air monitoring update, followed by urban greening and vegetative barriers. Then we will get some updates about clean air rooms, and we will conclude with our typical agenda items of standing updates, wrap up and next steps, and public comment. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for hearing the group agreements. And if at any time there are agreements that folks would like to add, you can always message us and let us know. But now that we have concluded with our meeting logistics, I will now pass it to Sarah for welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Jared. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our 64th Stockton CSC meeting. I just wanted to thank you all for being here and for continuing to dedicate your time and energy to working with us on this important work. I know you all are passionate about improving air quality in your community, and tonight's another opportunity for us to share some updates with you all, to collaborate and hear you all, and just keep building momentum on what we have created and what we have been doing. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sarah, for your welcoming remarks. I think it's going to be an exciting meeting full of updates, and so we're excited to spend this time with you all. At this time, I think we can transition and spend a few moments reviewing the action items tracker. As you all are familiar, the action items tracker is a tool that we use to help develop transparency and accountability between the Air District and the community. The Air District continually updates this tracker to ensure that your voices are heard and progress toward implementing your suggestions. As a reminder, at the end of every meeting, we share action items and encourage any members to add any action items that should be tracked. As Rocio provides updates, please feel free to ask any questions, seek clarification, and ask for follow-up. I will now pass it to Rocio.
Thank you, Jared. This is Rocio. I'll go ahead and share my screen and we can get started with the action item. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Perfect, thank you. So today we have 2 action items that I'll be reviewing, and I'll start in the pending section. So for this first action item, there was a request from a CSC member to share updates about the EV mechanic measure. And so the district is looking into the request and pulling together updates about the EV mechanic efforts that have been done in the boundary. So we'll make sure to bring back those findings at an upcoming CSC meeting. And then going back, and we'll go to the completed section next. I'll actually pause right here Mary Elizabeth, I see you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Hey, Mary, if you're talking, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. So good that at least I turned the camera on, huh? Good. You could see that I was moving my lips. Jeff is here, and I heard that, they are working on a workforce development project, and I'd like to see, some possibility about how we could be supporting that project with the workforce development. And another thing with regard to the workforce development that I want to make sure, that maybe we hear from is on the City of Stockton grant. I think it was the EPA grant that they got to develop a greenhouse gas emissions. There was a section in there for workforce development. So if the city of Stockton could also provide an update on what they're doing for their climate action and adaptation planning workforce development so that, maybe we can have a more concerted approach to that. Thank you.
This is Stephanie. I just want to thank you, Mary, for bringing that up because that's exactly the effort that we want to undergo with this EV mechanic training topic is we know there's lots of efforts happening, including we were taking note and hearing the update also on what's going on at the Green Economy Lab from the Port Outreach Subcommittee, and also understanding there's lots of other workforce development things happening through even Delta College and other efforts. So we're working on kind of pulling together all of these updates of these efforts. So like you said, we can have kind of a concerted effort and an understanding of what's going on. So we'll definitely take note of those couple of things as well as we pull together this update. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary and Steph. I'll go ahead and move on to the action item in the completed section. And so this action item is actually from just a few months ago. I know that the CSC was also interested in regarding monitoring at DTE. So the district did coordinate with the Port of Stockton to conduct mobile van monitoring near DTE Stockton for about 3 months from April 25th all the way up until July 25th of this year. And we'll actually be sharing more about the findings in today's meeting. And that's the end of the action items. I'm happy to pause to see if anyone has any questions. Don't see any hands raised. Oh, go ahead, Hector.
Hello, I had a question. So the mobile monitoring, is that similar to like the roadside emissions test? Where they're just they work with CHP and randomly stop cars and do test emissions?
No, we have an air monitoring van with multiple instruments in there, and we just place it over there, so it's just running 24/7.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Stephanie. I think, Hector, you're mentioning what I think is an initiative that kind of CARB will take on to do emissions testing directly from trucks. I believe I can't at this moment remember the acronym, but there's an acronym for that process that I think they've brought updates before. Our van monitoring is much more of like ambient air, kind of what's going on in a certain area versus like targeted focusing on just like the emissions of trucks.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any more hands raised, so I'll go ahead and pass it back to Jared. But if anyone has any other questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to us or put it in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Jared speaking. Thank you, Rosia, for sharing those updates on our action items. And thank you for the questions that we all received. I think definitely helping clarify and making sure we're all on the same page moving forward. We can now transition to our next agenda item, which is the quarterly air monitoring update. So not an air freshener, as a refresher, the Air District aims to provide these air monitoring updates every few months, in which the district will provide an overview of community air monitoring, highlighting recent air quality trends and impacts. They will also address questions raised during the last quarterly update to make sure that there is some follow-up. As the Air District presents, please feel free to share any upcoming priorities, concerns, questions, or recommendations on how the Air District can best present this data. Additionally, please note that the Air District may not have the answers to all questions currently, but are committed to following up at the next meeting with any answers that they have. CSC members can ask any questions that may be addressed in the future. With that, I will turn it over to the Air District.
All right, I'll kick us off. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chai Tao. I'm the program manager of air monitoring here at the Air District. And let's see. Oh, do you guys have it? You guys have a presentation up then? Who's controlling the presentation?
Hey, Chai, it's Rocio who's going to share her screen and
Oh,
control the
okay,
presentation.
okay.
Yeah.
All
So you
right,
can just let her know
all
when we
right.
move to the next slide.
Okay, sounds good.
This
Thank
is
you.
Rocio.
I
Chai,
had
if,
enough and I was trying to navigate through it, but you got it. That's even better.
yep, whatever's easier for you. So if you would like me to share it on mine, I can go ahead and do that unless you would like to share it on your end.
You know what? Let's see here. I can let me try it on mine. Let's see how it's like since I already have it up here.
Sure.
Okay. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we'll just get started here. So far this is so this has been the implementation of what we need to implement, and so far everything's in. The only place left is Van Westkirk, and still getting some difficulty getting permission from the city of Stockton on that. One way of addressing this that we're thinking about is potentially utilizing some type of a different sensor that's not requiring a lot of electrical infrastructure, maybe solar power, just so that we can start getting some PM2.5 data there. But other than that, all the other locations have been implemented. And this is the air monitoring van that we deployed. And I can't remember if this is already somewhere close at the port of Stockton. It might be. So just some key takeaways for this presentation, and we'll go over the details, but 2025, the Q2 levels and the Q2 PM2.5 levels we've seen through this is that they're very similar to the same time period from last year. And in addition to that, during the springtime is traditionally the cleanest part of the year in the valley here. So as we go through this, you'll see that the values are pretty low across the board at all locations. And as mentioned earlier, we're going to go over the PM2.5 that we monitored and the NO2 levels at the Port of Stockton. And we found that those levels are pretty similar to levels that we see throughout the Stockton area. And those are the two main components that we look at, because NO2 for potentially like combustion sources, like engines. And then, of course, all this data is, the air monitoring data is also available online, just a reminder of that. And from here, I'm going to have Corinne take over. Corinne is our air quality instrument specialist, and she's the one who's been responsible for taking care of all of the monitors in the Stockton area, doing all the maintenance and all that. So she's a lot more familiar with the details of everything that's been going on over there. So I'll let you take over from here, Corinne.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karine, and I am, like Chai said, I am the Air Quality Instrument Specialist for the Stockton area. In the next few slides, we will be looking at the quarterly average against previous years, monthly comparisons, and the daily averages. Here we have our current 2025 Q2 averages against previous years. To note, the vertical axis is in PM 2.5 micrograms per meter cubed. The annual PM 2.5 health-based standard of 9 micrograms per meter cubed is displayed here just as a scale to show how clean it was in this quarter. As you can see, Q2 is historically quite clean, as we usually see some rain and wind helping clean out our air.
Oh, by the
Next.
way, I just want to make sure, are you guys seeing just a pure slide or are you seeing another screen here?
Oh, we're just seeing the slide,
Okay, okay, good.
the April to June average 2.5
Okay,
comparison.
okay, perfect.
Perfect.
All right.
Next slide, please.
Before you go on, this is Margot. Go back to the last slide. What are on the far right, University Park is a whole different color scheme. I'm wondering what that's about.
Yeah, we wanted to separate the regulatory from the community monitors.
Oh,
So
that's the big one. That's the carb one.
yeah, that's a carb site. So it was just a comparison that, okay, here's all the community monitors and how does that compare to the to carbs to the regulatory site.
Yeah. And are you going to the edible schoolyard, does it tend to run higher than other places?
Well, I mean, you're seeing it right here, and and Corinne will go through further details. So
Okay.
we're gonna go from quarterly, and then we're gonna go look at it from a monthly basis, and then we'll hit the daily basis so that you can kind of see it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Now, good luck and let the hunt begin. We won't let you down, Taylor, because not only
I think we still have, oh, okay. All right, so we'll go to this one. Let's see. All right, here we go.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. This is Jazzy here. I have my hand up
Sure.
about the question about the dashed line at the it looks like the 10 mark. What does that entail, that axis?
Yeah, so that's the 2024 annual PM 2.5 health-based standard. That's just a more recent one. Prior to that, that used to be at 12 micrograms, and it was just recently updated to 9 micrograms. It's just the annual PM 2.5 federal health-based standard.
So that is saying anything above that line is more unhealthy, like this. It's not showing that this is hazardous, what's below that line?
Yeah, so there's this annual standard that the EPA establishes. And it's health-based, but it's not necessarily saying that above that is very, very bad or anything like that. As you'll see, like we have multiple levels of good and moderate and so forth. So I think we may have some of that later on that we can talk a little bit more about. But yeah, ideally, this is what we aim to meet. That's our federal standard that we shoot for good air quality.
This is Stephanie, and Chai, feel free to add in anything, but I guess just for a little bit more context, we call it a health-based standard because we are trying to maybe simplify some of the terms, but I think you all might know of this more like officially as the National Ambient Air Quality Standard. It's the annual standard. There is a little bit of nuance here that this is like that line is saying an annual standard, and what you're seeing here is quarterly data. So there is a little bit of that nuance that it's not exactly like apples to apples in terms of the time frame that we're looking at too. So just a little bit of, consideration for that as well. But given that this is kind of guidance that, the EPA puts out for what's kind of health protective of folks, we do add this line just for reference. But like Chai mentioned, there's a little bit of, it's something that we aim to get close to, but there is, again, kind of in the sense of the timeframes that we're looking at, a little bit more nuance there to kind of the comparison. It is just kind of a reference for us to be thinking about.
Oh yeah, thanks for bringing that up too for the quarterly. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, so that's an average throughout the entire year when you average it all together, and that's a metric that we try to achieve. But what most of you will probably look at is the daily, and the daily has its own standard. There's a 35 microgram standard on that as well that we'll take a look at later on. All right, any other questions?
Hey, Chai, this is Stephanie. I think I'm experiencing it too, but someone in the comment is just asking the speakers to speak up. You're sounding a little bit quiet on my side.
Oh,
I don't know if
okay.
there's a way for you to get a little bit closer to your
All
mic.
right. How about now? Is it still kind of low, the volume?
That sounds better to me.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right,
Chai.
I'll just speak a little bit louder. Thank you.
Okay. Here we have our monthly averages per site. Again, on the left axis is our PM 2.5 value and the 9 microgram per meter cube. It's the federal health-based standard is also shown on this slide. All our community sites, including CARB's University Park site, average under this health-based standard. Next, okay. Now, on this slide, this shows your 24 average of every site during this period. Again, the PM 2.5 concentration is on the left, but we have included the 24-hour health-based standard. The previous slides showed the annual standard. The gray shadow area shows the previous year's daily max values against all of the sites from this period. Again, all our values were quite low and most days were actually lower than the previous years.
And this is really pretty much expected because it's a pretty clean time of the year. And as you can see that it various factors, you can see some that are it peaks at different times and are lower at different times if you were to compare this year to last year.
Next slide. Okay. And right here we have data for the 4th of July. We know the 4th of July is in quarter 3, but because we have the data, we wanted to share with you what we measured. To know sites that were closest to neighborhoods had the most impact from the fireworks, like the Taft Community Center. And the monitor at Boggs Tract at the Edible Schoolyard had the least impact since it's the closest to industrial areas with the least festivities taking place. Right here, we have the air monitoring van daily average PM 2.5 comparison.
And I just wanted to add on this one too. I don't know if it's been clear of where this is at, but this is located at the Lindley House. So we placed a van over there from as you can see on this chart here, all the way from April till the end of July.
As we mentioned before, we deployed the van at the Lindley House for several months, and we compared against the rest of the network. And in this slide, we see that the van, which is in dark red, ran very similar to the rest of the sites in the Stockton network and very close, but on average cleaner than the monitor at the schoolyard.
And we mentioned the schoolyard because the schoolyard is like the closer downwind air monitor from where this van was placed at the Port of Stockton.
I wanted to pause. This is Jared speaking. Just wanted to pause to see have some questions I see coming in the chat before we transition. And so Mary Elizabeth was asking, was there any data removed for the fires? And I also see another question asking about why there was no 4th of July data for the University Park site.
So we did not remove any data for wildfires. If there's anything that may be missing, it may have been some issues with the instrumentation. Now 4th of July at let's see here. At University Park you mentioned. I don't know if is it missing here or not. I'm not sure if it's actually
I
missing
do
here.
not think it was.
I think it's here, right? So 4th of July, University Park is shown here within this time frame here. Now we didn't include it over here. Maybe next time we'll include that in here, but we were focusing mainly on the within the community air monitors. Are there any other questions?
I see one more that just came in, just asking how are the health-based standards calculated?
So how we calculate it? So on ours, we just calculate the 24-hour average. Basically, we get the hours, we get hourly values, and then those hourly values are calculated average over a 24-hour period. Now, as far as how they were determined, that's actually a pretty comprehensive, probably a bit more than we can go through today, but it's a complex process where there's multiple entities and individuals involved in determining what is the appropriate level, and they do a lot of reviews and on determining where that is at. So I'm not sure if that's what you guys are looking for, or what the question is for, or if it was something else.
And Chai, this is Stephanie. Maybe I could add a little bit just to clarify that top line that you're seeing, the health-based standard, that comes kind of from federally from the US EPA. Like Chai is saying, it's a very intensive process in which the US EPA, they kind of do a huge assessment on all of the latest scientific like research that is out there. Kind of regarding health risks. And so after kind of that big process that they go through to really assess kind of all the research that's out there, it comes again from the EPA that determines that health-based standard.
There's
So,
still questions, Margot, or
yeah, Chai, so gosh, we fixed everything, huh?
well,
Yeah,
it is a very clean period that we're looking at too. But yeah, I mean, I think for this part, the real question here was, is there something that may be coming from the Port Stockton within this area that we wanted to find out if there's any differences in it, and this is just showing that it is trending right along with all the other sites, that we're not seeing anything um, additional that coming from there. Now, as far as the clean results, and again, it's during this second quarter, it is fairly clean, just like last year as well.
so, I don't know what to say. We've been blessed with not feeling the effects of wildfires this summer. I know many other people have. And that would make a big difference. Winter is always a little different, but I guess I'm just really surprised that you know how does this compare to before our grant started? I just can't believe we've made that much of a difference, or have we?
We haven't gone through all the way back and do that full analysis, and maybe that's something that we may consider to do, that to just show the trend from when we first started monitoring, and just to get some ideas of how the progression has been. But that's a good point.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting to see it over time.
Yeah.
And okay, I'll drop it there. Thank you.
Any further questions?
I do see Everett has his hand raised.
Yes, yeah, this is Everett. I just have a question, and we can be talking about it later. But the question is, we've been talking about the Taft School and trying to get permission and all those things. Have we considered changing the location, and that we could? I know you mentioned about putting another type of monitor there, but maybe changing the location to a better place or accessible place. I have a couple of places in mind, but I don't know the boundaries. Would be a couple in Western Ranch. So I can talk about. That's something I just was considering. That we've been talking about it for a couple of years, and nothing has went forward. So have we considered moving those locations?
Well, we have a Taft, and in fact, at the Taft Community Center, we just had that installed maybe a little bit over a month now. So that is up and running.
Longer.
Is that what you're referring to?
No, it might be the one in Van Busker then.
Oh, yeah, Van Busker. Yeah, if you have a location that you think we can get access to, yeah, we'd be happy to explore that and get a monitor going over there.
There's a couple in Western Ranch, and like I said, this is like we can bring this up in another meeting. I can talk to someone with more a location in the, make sure that we're in the right areas. But it's Western Ranch, a couple of places in Western Ranch area. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
I think Weston Ranch is outside of the boundaries. Doesn't the boundary stop at the creek?
Yeah.
Lou, the
The
French
boundaries are
Camps
here.
Lou.
Is it down over here?
What?
Do you guys see the map here? I'm not sure if is it shown on the screen?
Yeah, it's down on your side where you've got your pointer.
Oh, down here?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
outside of the
Weston
boundary.
Ranch.
So the boundary is right around here. So it's outside of the boundary if it's down here. Oh,
And-
Western Park.
And Chai, this is Stephanie. Maybe just to remind folks, the Van Buskirk site was kind of that original site we were aiming for, and just to kind of let folks know about some of the other folks we've tried to reach out to in that area. Conway Homes, we are not able to put a monitor there, and Kip School also let us know they couldn't place it. So in that area, if you know of anything else, feel free to let Chai know. And our team is more than happy to kind of make connections and reach out to folks.
And what was the problem with the Van Busker Community Center?
I can't recall, but they didn't allow us to put it there.
The city didn't allow it.
Yeah, I think the Van Buskirk, I don't know if it was a city, maybe it was a city.
Yes.
But yeah, we didn't get any approval for that.
Hmm.
And then the school just wasn't, and the school was initially sounding like they were willing to, but after some consideration, they decided that they prefer not to have us there.
And this is Jared. I know you all have a couple more slides, but also, yeah, I wanted to note that Mary Elizabeth has her hand up with a question.
Well, I think you're on mute, Mary Elizabeth.
So I got a message that someone that's watching on YouTube, the chat there is not open. And just a suggestion because there's a lot of lines there. I know it's a little bit tricky, but I've seen it done where you overlay the data so one piece of data comes out at a time instead of looking at them all at once. So it's kind of a dynamic presentation, click one line all shows for one site. Click another line shows for another site. And then when you're ended with the presentation in presentation mode for like a PowerPoint, then you have all the data. So that I got that message that that would be helpful to do one line at a time.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. We will explore that option just to see it one at a time. The whole idea of this was really of this chart here was, and that's why we emphasize the van in red, just to kind of see where it falls within the rest of the community. But yes, I think if you really want to know each individually, then and it will probably be better than in a PowerPoint presentation, maybe more of maybe something separate and to be able to see them separately. But I think we may be able to do some type of animation where it shows one at a time that you can see it kind of flow through in there.
So Chai, this is Margot again. Do you yourself monitor other communities, healthier air communities?
Well, we have other AB617 communities, so yes.
And I don't mean the AB617, I mean like Lodi, which is a green community. Do you, or is that what CARB does with its stationary monitoring?
I'm not familiar with that.
I guess what I'm asking is how do we compare with a really clean air quality place?
Well, I mean, we have monitors throughout the valley. I mean, we have the regulatory monitors throughout the valley. We have all the AB617 monitors throughout the valley. So I think that's a good comparison. If I mean, pretty good comparison if you were to
Okay.
compare through all of those. And that may be something that we do when, as mentioned earlier, about when we try to look at this whole holistically from inception to now, and maybe we can compare it to some other areas,
Yeah,
maybe cleaner and not as clean areas throughout the valley.
yeah, thank you. That would be great.
All right. So I think we just finished the 2 PM 2.5, and we'll move on to the NO2, and that's just to try to see if there are any combustion sources that might be a little bit different.
Okay. Here we're comparing NO2, nitrogen dioxide, with nearby sites. NO2 is a pollutant associated with petroleum combustion, like engines, boilers, etc. Comparing the van against the edible schoolyard and Carbs University Park sites, we see that the van, which is in dark red, did follow the trend, but was not as impacted by NO2 as much as the other sites. This reinforces that Boggs site is probably the best place for capturing everything occurring at the port.
And on here, we also have that annual, but this is NO2 LPA standard, very similar to the 4 PM 2.5, but this is for NO2. And one thing to keep in mind is that we went ahead and put it in here, but it really is not really an apples to apples comparison, because this is more of an annual average, and what we're looking at here are daily averages. So usually your annual values, your annual averages will be lower than your daily, because usually you get all the spikes in the dailies and that gets smoothed out into the annual. So, but just to give some perspective of what the values that we see compared to that annual average. Okay, and then I'll continue on for these current wildfires. And this was just recently updated, as I'm not sure if maybe many of you may have already heard all the wildfires that's been going on. And fortunately, so far, I don't think, and I have not looked at it the past few minutes, but the Stockton area has not been as impacted, but in the more the Central Valley to the southern portion of the valley has been hit pretty hard with these wildfire impacts. The PM 2.5 levels have gone up pretty high. But this is just more of to just bring some awareness that, there are some nearby fires that are taking place, as you can see here, starting in from the 2nd, which is just yesterday. We got a few of these fires here on the right-hand side here. So, um, so, so there's a possibility that even though the predominant wind direction is heading southeast, there's still a possibility that some of these wildfire impacts may eventually hit the Stockton community there. But anyways, this is really just a kind of a heads up of the latest of what's going on with all these wildfires.
And this is Stephanie. Can I add really quickly? Chai, you might go into this in the rest of your presentation. I know the team will, but you all probably, you all received a press release from us. And I know that in chatting with some of the folks up in the North Valley, you all might not have heard it as much, but here, like, for example, in the Fresno area, and I know even kind of a little further south, there were some pretty intense thunderstorms that happened that were the kind of the what started a lot of these wildfires. So we'll kind of go into that a little bit more, but it might be pretty shocking to see so many kind of all at once. But these are some pretty intense impacts that we saw as a result of a lot of thunderstorms that were happening throughout the valley. Go ahead, Chai. Thanks.
All right, thanks. And so, looking at this and just recently evaluated today, you can see that the ground level smoke from the wildfires in the Sierra Nevada is mostly confined in these small foothill areas. But at nighttime, smoke can drift into the valley and can impact the community. And also overhead smoke moves away, but can drop to the surface as we breathe as well. And this is just to look at the smoke transport. This is a satellite image from the Garnet fire. And you see that it's reaching a pretty large portion of the valley. You can see the overhead smoke from this is transported to the northwest. And again, this overhead smoke can drop down to the surface where we breathe. And so, as Stephanie had already mentioned, when there are circumstances like this, the district does do news releases, and we do issue the news releases, like the example here. And we also post on social media on sites like Facebook, X, and Nextdoor, and also keep the health departments and schools notified. And we also have the app that also tells you the air quality. In addition to that, if there are other sources of like some other fires that's not wildfires or other sources of air pollution, you can also follow that online through the app too. And that concludes our presentation. If there's any additional questions, we'll be happy to answer it.
Jared speaking. I see Mary Elizabeth has her hand up and then also wanted to read a question from Ned in the chat. Ned's question might have been on a slide back, but it was, is the 43 circle amount around Stockton PM 2.5 total a spike due to wildfire?
Which the circle you said?
And Ned, maybe if you can come off mute and maybe describe what slide that was pertaining to exactly.
Going back forward.
Back?
Keep going forward.
Okay.
The more recent one where you showed a bunch of little circles in our area, and they seem to have, next one. Okay, you see under Stockton, there's a 43 with a circle, a star. Is that 43 micrograms per meter cubed of PM 2.5? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
So this was a map that was generated earlier out of the fire and smoke map. I think these are micrograms, or they may be AQI values too.
They're what?
AQI values. So there are AQI values that are not necessarily the micrograms from each one of these.
Well, okay, you could probably understand why. I think it's in all this stuff, it's like your press release. You don't tell us what the PM 2.5 exposure is from the wildfires. If you just what you sent me today and yesterday, watch out, you got wildfires. Okay, that's great. Well, what is the PM 2.5? You know, because we do have these standards, and it's like this screen here. You have these, 51s, 41, 38s. Are these hazardous levels at the 24 scale? It's, they certainly couldn't be annual amounts. So it's so we understand better. My point is that one day, I put this in the chat, one day of wildfires is 100% of the annual anthropogenic emissions of PM 2.5. So it's just a matter of being able to see things kind of clearly here. So that's just my suggestion.
Yeah, so this map is the fire smoke map, and I can kind of run it through here just to get some general ideas on it. So the color is meant to tell you that it's good, moderate, or really bad air quality at that particular site. And the reason why it's not all about just the micrograms, because during the summertime it could be a high ozone. And the ozone level is the one that drives that air quality index value. And so this is to simplify it so that when you look at it, if it's all green, that means, okay, everything's good. And as you see here, as we start going closer to the fire, you start getting the yellow here. And then these are slowly building up. So this is the AQI indexes, as you can see from here. As it gets higher, you see all the different levels around here. And so this is really trying to simplify it in a way, or EPA trying to put this together and to simplify it in a way where you can
It says
just look at
PM
it.
2.5. If I'm looking at PM 2.5, 89, but maybe I can't read it very well.
Oh, it says APM 2.5 AQI, Air Quality Index. So I'm not sure if on this one they have it in terms of micrograms.
This
Maybe,
is Stephanie. Try they do. If you want to click right there, you had it expanded already. That first little dial, PM 2.5. Yes, exactly.
oh, there you
That can
go.
take you to both options.
So you see the AQI is 89, and then the micrograms is 27.
And like Chai is saying, AQI is a useful tool for us to be able to evaluate multiple pollutants. And AQI is also a useful tool because there's kind of metrics in which you can determine and know what kind of behavior that you do outside. Some people might not recognize like what, some kind of microgram means, but it is a useful tool to like direct us to know like, okay, this is maybe a time of day in which I should be maybe, spending time indoors because I have health related problems, like I have asthma or something like that. So it's a good metric, and this tool does allow you to see both. If it's like you, Ned, that you maybe want to see the direct micrograms and concentration, and want other details about the AQI.
Yeah, and it's also consistent too, so that it's not like we have our own levels and then another air district may have theirs or another state may have theirs. So you can see this, it's like all throughout the United States. I mean, it's all under one set of criteria on that. And you can see like red over here, right, in Bakersfield here. That's 169 over here. Not sure what's going on over there, but yeah, 169. And then you can see what drives that 169 is it's at 67 micrograms. All right.
Okay, thank you for that question, Ned, and definitely hearing maybe just some future recommendations on how the CSC can best digest some of these data points. Mary Elizabeth, I see that you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think it was 13, slides 13. Yeah, where slide 13, yeah. Where slide 13?
This one?
Where did you get that?
It was done by our air quality analysis team, and they have access to getting these satellite images.
Okay, so that's not available to the public?
I'm not sure if it is, or it might be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, can we have a follow-up on around that? Because
Yeah.
I look at that fire and smoke map, the EPA one, but this one is more nuanced,
Okay.
than that one. And then the other question that I had, and you mentioned it, the ozone in the summertime, I didn't see a ozone slide for ozone pollution.
Yeah, ozone, we haven't really talked as much about ozone and in general, we don't, it's not really discussed much because ozone is it's not a localized impact. And so what you'll see is that it's not going to vary very much from monitor to monitor, from location to location, especially within the Stockton area. And that's why it's just not mentioned as much. And on top of that, we haven't really seen any excessively high from the community monitors. But I mean, if that's something that's of interest, we can also definitely show it too.
Well, we definitely saw it last year, and noted that we had a lot of over 100 days last year that we haven't had this year. So I was kind of interested to see what just warming temperatures affect ozone formation.
Yeah, I think that's something that we could do on the next one, and maybe some type of summary too. I think all this goes back to the summary that we get to put all that together and just
Annually, you're talking about the annual summary?
no, yeah, or even yeah, the annual summary may be a good one too. And we'll incorporate all of that into there.
And this is Stephanie. And try even our next quarterly update, though. I think this is typically as we're looking back at Q2 right now, but the next quarterly update, correct me if I'm wrong, will include summertime data, which tends to focus on ozone, and we have slides that we talk about that. So we can plan to put that as part of an update to all in the next quarter's update.
Yeah, and then we can explain it more from an annual so that you have the full year perspective and not just a quarter on it too.
Thank you everyone for your questions. I wanted to note some action items that we have tracked so far. So for the first one was for future quarterly air monitoring updates, for there to be a comparison with data prior to the camp implementation. And then we're also hearing just some clarification if that smoke transport map data, if that's available to the general public, which we noted as action items. So yeah, maybe we can pause to see if there's any more questions or clarification that from any community members of the CSC.
All right, so I think that concludes it. Thank you for all the great feedback and yeah, have a great evening, everyone.
Yes, thank you so much, Shine Karine, for coming and doing that. Oh my gosh, that air update. And thank you everyone from the CSC for your great questions. We noted this down in the action items tracker, and so we'll make sure that there's follow-up on those questions. I think now we can transition to our next agenda item, which is updates on the urban greening and vegetative barriers measure. So in this portion of the meeting, Little Manila Rising will share recent progress on these measures. As a quick reminder, during April's in-person CSC meeting, Nico participated in our gallery walk activity, where he provided updates, explained how plants were being selected, and clarified which local greening projects were under their care as Little Manila Rising. Today, Nico from Little Manila Rising will share progress made over the past few months. As Nico presents, we encourage you all to ask questions in the chat, raise your Zoom hand, or unmute yourself. And with that, I will pass it to Nico.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you again. If you don't remember my name, I'm Nicholas Tamayo, and I'm the Urban Forestry Director for Little Manila Rising. I'm managing this project for our organization, and I have a few updates that I'll give verbally. I wasn't asked to provide a slide deck for this update, so I'll try to be as thorough as possible and speak as clearly as I can. And then please do let me know if you have any questions. But for this update, I can say that we've gotten some movement going with our My Free Tree program. So the last time I was here, I provided a link and a QR code for enrolling in the My Free Tree program, and we've had about 10 people reach out to us, and we've currently held 5 site assessments out of those 10, and our staff is scheduling those kind of around the clock or weekly. Those are done by our trust builders that we hired through this project, and they are at 10 hours per week, so their capacity is pretty limited, and it's why it's taking a little bit longer to work through even just 10 requests. But we have held 5 in-person site assessments with property owners who want trees with us through this project, and they look promising. So we're in the site plan part of the process. So we're creating a planting plan for these homes, and we'll be including them in our fall planting. Besides My Free Tree, in addition to the planting plans, we just sent off our maintenance agreement to Valley Air District. So we sent that earlier this morning, and they're reviewing the maintenance agreement that we enter into with the property owners who receive our trees. And this is a really critical part of the process because this is also what gets the city on board, the county on board, other agencies that need to see in writing how LMR is engaging in the long-term maintenance of these trees, or at least in the establishment maintenance of the trees that we plant through this project. So currently under review by Valley Air District. I expect to get notes by the team, and then we'll edit and get a final draft. And then I imagine we would want to share that with you all at the next update so that you all have a chance to read it. And then we'll take it out into the community and have this be a part of our pitch to the city for permits and to the county for permits, the school district for permits. Yeah, so I've also started to do some preliminary site scouting for just our urban greening project, and currently have 25 verified street locations that are primarily in downtown Stockton. But this is definitely by no means not the only area that I will scout. I'm just beginning in downtown Stockton because it's where our office is located. So for me, it's easiest to just knock those out of the way, and then we'll be moving to the different priority areas of the project. Um, the hyphy subcontract is still in the MOU review phase. So we had our MOU reviewed by Valley Air District and approved. And so we've shared the MOU with Hyphy, and their team is currently reviewing it before they sign. And so it has taken a little bit longer than we expected to get them on board and working in Stockton, but we're hopeful that we'll get this underway. We do have the first in-person kickoff meeting with them next Wednesday. So they'll be in Stockton to meet with our team and start teaching us about vegetative barriers and some of their strategies for outreach and urban greening work, since they're having a very successful project in West Oakland right now. So we're excited to finally work with them after all these years. Um, and yeah, that's really it's very brief updates right now. I don't have any tentative planting dates yet. I expect that we'll be kicking off plantings for this project in the spring, so February at the earliest, and I think that's to be expected. It takes a lot of time to identify the sites and confirm the sites, get permission from property owners. That's how we've operated it on our other projects, is that we're not planting right away unless we're doing these My Free Tree, residential kind of single or a couple tree plantings. But we do expect to have a big kickoff planting event with Valley Air District present and all of our partners, and hopefully all of you present by February at the latest. So yeah, if I'll take questions now, those are all of my updates.
This is Jared. I see Debbie, you have your hand raised, and then after you, Debbie Ector. You can go ahead and
Okay, I finally figured out how to unmute myself on the phone. So Nico, I was just wondering, this is Debbie Provost. I was just wondering, are those people that are working 10-hour a week, how many do you have? And also, are they dedicated to just doing My Tree activities?
They are not solely dedicated to doing My Free Tree is the program. That is a big part of their job. They're still onboarding technically onto the team, so they're still doing onboarding. They're still getting familiar with our systems, but they're also working on cleaning up our kind of backlog of requests and getting them into our CRM system, so our task manager system. And they are also in the process of creating some tree tags for all of the trees that will be planted in this project. kind of an outcome of a lot of your feedback from the last CSC was how do we communicate to you when we see trees that are struggling? And so we're creating a tree tag with a QR code and and our phone number. It gives you the species and also the QR code takes you to a request form that we get directly. So if you see a tree that's struggling, you can scan the QR code, put in a work request, and then our teams go out and address that tree. So they've been working on that as well, and that's been some time that takes some time because we go through many drafts. But yeah, there's two of them, and they work on My Free Tree on a number of different projects.
This is Jared. Yeah, thank you for that answer. Hector, you can come off me with your question.
Hey, Nico, do you know when the city of Stockton, their contracting staff for the trees are supposed to come on? They give you a time frame?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The city of Stockton, the people that they hired, the contractors for the trees, do you know when they're supposed to start?
Yeah, I'll be meeting with them for the first time next week.
Okay.
They have a very they have a very specific scope of work. And they are not going to be kind of on call for city work. They're going to be working on a very specific project.
That's the inventory.
No, the inventory is a different contract completely. This is through the Transformative Climate Communities Grant, and they'll be working with the city on their tree planting efforts and their stump removal and addressing some mature tree issues in that project area.
Is this in the TCC area or is this Stockton wide?
For which?
What you're talking about, the stump removal and
For the contract arborists, they are primarily working on TCC, and they may have some scope outside of TCC, but I really only am going to be working with them in the TCC area.
and what's the name of that contractor? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's California Tree and Landscape Consultants.
Thank you.
Sure.
This is Jared. Yeah, thank everybody for those great questions. Are there any additional questions for Nico? I'm not seeing anything in the chat or anybody coming off mute. So yeah, thank you everyone for those great questions, and thank you, Nico, for all your great updates. I know folks are excited for the progress on this, so thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Have a good night.
Thank you. Well, yes, thank you so much, everybody, for those great questions. It sounds like things are starting to get started, which is exciting. Spring will be an exciting time for the community. I think we can now transition to our final update of the evening, which is clean air rooms. As a refresher, at the end of last year, the Air District shared updates on this measure and proposed continuing outreach, along with the potential to expand the program to other sensitive populations. At that time, the CSC agreed to revisit this measure and to follow up on outreach strategies and discuss the possible expansion. Today, the Air District will provide updates on the status of this work and answer any questions you may have about clean air rooms and the potential of that expansion. With that, I will now pass it over to the Air District.
Thank you, Jared. This is Sarah, and I'll be going over the Clean Air Rooms update tonight. I'll go over the possible program expansion as well at the end of the presentation. Air purifiers are extremely beneficial. They can remove up to 90% of pollutants in your home. And as we heard from Chai and Karine, there are many wildfires that are impacting us here in the valley. So the air purifiers can help us create a clean air environment. in our home when we're experiencing those challenges. Let me just share my screen here. All right. Okay, I'll start off with some updates on the progress that we've had with the Clean Air Rooms program. In the SERP, you all dedicated $1 million to this program, which would distribute 5,000 units to homes and residents in the community. To date, we have distributed a little over 2,000 units, which is about 40% of the funding. So we still have a good amount of units left. In the years since the program has opened, we've worked with you all for your input and your help with getting the word out, along with CBOs to attend multiple outreach events to sign residents up to the program. And to date, we have attended more than 40 events within the boundaries to help promote this Clean Air Room program. Even with the continued and targeted outreach that we've done the past couple years, we do still have almost 3,000 units available to distribute in the community. And here's a nice table and chart that shows how many air purifier applications we received in the last 10, 11 months. We seem to hover around an average of about 20 units a month, with the exception of April earlier this year. In previous CSC meetings and outreach subcommittee meetings with you all, we heard that you wanted us to do more direct and targeted outreach. So we did do a direct mailer, so a little postcard to promote the Clean Air Room program. In April, we sent out 21,000 postcards to promote our program to residents within the boundary. That was successful, and we received hundreds of applications in 3 months after we sent out that postcard, with our highest being 376 in April. So that was really nice. Since then, our numbers have been dipping low again, with only 12 folks signing up for the program last month. So we would like to propose expanding the program to include sending air filters to facilities that serve sensitive receptors like children and the elderly. So these would be a little bit larger air filters. So they would be different than the ones that you have all received, because they would serve a little bit of a larger area than residents' homes. Right. This slide details some virtual and some in-person outreach efforts to promote the Clean Air Room program in the community that have been led by Cassandra Melching. She frequents the Stockton area to attend schools, different community events. She goes to churches, and I can pass to Cass actually to elaborate more on the outreach efforts in the community.
Hi, this is Cassandra. Thank you so much, Sarah. Yes, as you all know, this has been an ongoing focus for us, working very closely with the different partners out in the community, sharing flyers. I do want to take a second and give a huge shout out to Mary Elizabeth, because she's been very, very active in requesting additional flyers and getting out there to also help distribute those. So we thank you for that, because as you've seen in the previous slides, it is a challenge to give away free items, but we're still going to keep trucking forward and keep on pushing. So currently we are working with schools. We've got confirmation. We're just waiting to set up some dates to get into 2 additional AB617 schools, and they're new schools that we haven't been able to visit. So it'll be nice to get over there and engage with parents and let them know that this resource is available. And then, we're also focusing on targeted outreach through social media and, pushing information that, hey, free air purifiers are available. So lots of good work has been done in trying to help get the word out and get these into the hands of the residents.
This is Jared. I did want to pause and know one question that came in the chat from Hector, which was what was the overall cost of the postcard marketing?
This Heather, I'll take a look and find out those details for you. But it was very for the one time. So taking a step back to answer that question, marketing and direct mail, and Margot remembers this conversation from the way back in the beginning. It takes a lot of hits, they say, a lot of like 8 times to see something, right? And before people react or act on it. And we only sent 1 round. We definitely could tee it up and do another. But we had a really good response with that 1 round. So I'm convinced that in the way we've done this kind of the whole time, there are just those little slices of areas that we have to hit them all to get different sections of the population, the people that do respond and read their mail, the people that are on social media and get information that way. Our goal is to be in all the different spaces.
Yeah, and this is Margot. Thank you. Thank you, Hector, for bringing it up, and thank you, Heather, for saying that, because I would like to see another mailer, and possibly, every couple months another nut and another mailer. See how it goes. And I think it is time, I guess, to start considering the other options. I had one question though too. Say we were in the throes of a heavy smoke from wildfire. I don't look into it, so maybe you can tell me. Does Stockton have clean air centers? It's a separate issue than handing out air purifiers, but I was just wondering.
Yeah, this is Sarah. Yeah, Stockton does have clean air centers, and we can find the map and send it in the chat. Unfortunately, since I'm sharing my screen, I can't see the chat, but when I'm done, I will definitely send it in there.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just curious. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, another mailer would I think would be good. It was very visible. I remember when it came out this time.
Awesome. Thanks for the feedback, Margot. And I dropped a Clean Air Centers map in chat.
This is Jared. Oh, go ahead, Sept, my bad.
Sorry, Jared. I'll actually just quickly let you all know of some of those clean air center sites you all might be familiar with. We have a site at the Boggs Tract Community Center, also Taft Community Center, Kennedy Community Centers. Those are a few that we have in the boundary. Also the Northeast Community Center. Typically things like community centers, libraries, public spaces like that are really great spaces to turn into these clean air centers. If you all have any recommendations for additional areas, we do still have funding through this Clean Air Center program. So you can certainly let us know and we'd be happy to reach out.
This is Jared. Thank you, Steph. Checking on some of the questions in the chat. I saw some kudos to Margot, Mary Elizabeth for pushing for outreach, and Sarah and Cassandra for doing the direct mailing, for the push to the public. And a question from Ned just about if there was any communication directly with primary healthcare providers such as pulmonologists to reach people with COPD. Are there any samples of the materials that's been provided to any medical providers?
Yes, we have sent out information to community health centers and to Wellbe, I believe it is, Wellbe Health Centers. They've been a great partner in helping to distribute our information. And we can definitely, Ned, if you would like the flyers, we can send some up your way as well.
Yeah, I just think to directly reach the primary care physicians, the pulmonologists who are dealing with COPD people, I would think that it would say, oh, it has a HEPA filter and all these things that are interested in, and you'd get the air filtration to the people who really would have the greatest medical need. So thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And see hands raised from Hector and Mary Elizabeth.
Hello. So I had a question. When people sign up, initially they put in their address. One of the questions is a little more technical. When they put in their address, say they live in an apartment complex, or an apartment building, and someone there has already signed up for one. I think we had this issue before. I'm not sure it's been fixed, but if someone already in the complex has already had one, it'll show that they're not eligible because that address has already been served.
Hi, this is Cassandra. That is correct, but we can definitely fix that on the back end. And so anytime we have that happen, we tell the applicant to call the district and they work on it over the phone and they can get that corrected. So the new person living there can receive the air purifier. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you, Hector. Especially, on that apartment. Can we add, just a line in the in the on the flyer, to make sure, that they don't just get it's already not eligible and then give up, that's getting this from folks, to make sure to call, if you
That's a
live
great
in an
idea, Mary.
apartment.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea. And maybe when they punch in their address in the system, it can say, you're not eligible. If you believe this is a mistake, you can call us.
Yeah, or just if you live in an apartment complex, call
Yeah.
us.
Definitely. We can look into that.
And then about the clean air, thank you, Margot. I definitely agree, like St. Mary's would be a good place. When I don't even know, so these are all in the county. So the county, um, all of those places for the clean air, those were county community centers. And so the Boggs Track is the closest one for us over here in the AB617, and it has very, very limited hours, and so at what point, do they, and, it's the same for the cooling centers. At what point, is there an agreement, that they're going to be staying open some extended hours if we're, I mean, we've been really blessed this year, for heat and wildfire, but that's, it might be completely different next year. So is there, what is the process for, having extended hours for those clean air? And is there some kind of agreement? Can the city of Stockton, start, has somebody at the city of Stockton been outreached, to get some city of Stockton sites?
We can definitely do that outreach. As Stephanie mentioned, we do have money for more clean air centers in the community. So if City of Stockton is where you would like to see them, we can definitely start on that outreach.
Thank you, Margot, and thank you, Cassandra.
This Heather. Just a few more details related to clean air centers, Mary. The sort of the general parameters follow whatever that facility's normal hours are. Currently, and Sarah can correct me, I don't know that there are any that alter their hours. They're just their normal public hours. That's a sort of a minimum requirement to be able to receive one of the high commercial end purifiers, is that they are open to the public with, regular hours and would commit to those hours if there was an air quality episode and have their machine on, if that makes sense.
That is correct, Heather.
Oh, and quick search, Margot, I looked up, I'm not positive St. Mary's would qualify because it has to be open to the general public. And on a quick search, this says you have to be experiencing homelessness to go in there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Cass. And thank you for all of your questions.
So the clean air rooms
Mhm.
program is not part of AB 617.
The Clean Air Centers program is the one with the public centers for people to go if there's a like a smoke event. That is a valley-wide program,
Okay, so
not
that is
specifically for
separate than
AB617.
us wanting to put money, put into expanding our SERP.
Yes, yes. They're named really similar. The Clean Air Centers one is the public one, and then Clean Air Rooms is the residential air filter program. And the Clean Air Rooms is the program that you all allocated $1 million for in your SERP.
But here we're looking at senior living centers, daycare centers, childcare centers.
Yes, this is Stephanie. Margot, to your point, I'm doing the same thing Heather is, where I followed now the link to St. Mary's. It looks like St. Mary's does offer preschool and like senior housing services, which may actually get to the point that Sarah is going to bring up of, is there a potential to maybe expand into other spaces like this? It might not be an area that we can serve with our traditional clean air center program that, like Heather said, it needs to be open for the public to access. But I think there could be other opportunities to kind of expand into spaces that have sensitive populations like elderly and like children.
Yeah, yeah, because it is within the AB 617 boundaries.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I'll move on to the next slide here. Okay. So we also have this clean air room program, the air purifier program in the Shafter and in the South Central Fresno AB617 communities. In the Shafter community, the CSC actually proposed expanding the clean air room program to include air filtration for other sensitive receptors, like St. Mary's, so facilities that service uh, seniors and children. So we expanded the program in that community and then took it to the Fresno CSC, proposed that same expansion where they also supported that to get more air purifiers in their community. The program expansion includes facilities that service the elderly and the children. So that would be daycares, child care facilities, senior living facilities, and all those facilities are allowed to receive air filters through CARB's incentive guidelines. The guidelines allow us to fund commercial size units that fit the area that residents frequent. So like for a senior or nursing home, it would be like an activity room or a community room. These like larger rooms where multiple people gather. And as I mentioned, the CSC allocated $1 million to this clean air room program. And we would like to reserve a quarter of that funding, so $250,000 of that $1 million for the program expansion. This means that there will still be about $350,000 left to dedicate solely to residential units. And that $350,000 will fund about 1,700 residential units. So if you approve the expansion, our plan is to continue to promote the residential air filtration program because we'll still have 1,700 units to distribute in the community. So we'll still attend outreach events and community events and bring you updates about those numbers and the events that we attend, while also shifting to expand our program with the $250,000 for facilities like the senior living centers and the daycare and childcare centers. So we can kind of do both at the same time. With this slide, I'll talk a little bit about project timeframes. The SERP that we're operating under has a 5-year time frame, which means that the SERP ends in July of next year. It's important that we continue to make strategic decisions so that funding is spent on grant projects in the Stockton community. Um, we're working right now with Shafter and South Central Fresno AB617. They are our year one communities, so they're like a year ahead of you all. And we expect that we will still fund residential projects into year 6, as the residential projects have shorter time frames and they're quicker for our staff internally to process. They have like quick turnarounds. Uh, with heavy duty projects like the heavy duty truck replacement program and our electric school bus program, they take a little bit longer to process. We have to contract with the entity and business, inspect their equipment, which could take a couple months. And then we have to order the equipment, which could also take a couple months. And even for some school buses recently, we've seen those taken like up to a year to get the buses in-house. And because those projects do take a while to complete, we do want to have all the heavy duty projects in your community contracted by early 2026. Just because, you know, we have to contract, but then the facilities still have to receive the buses or trucks and, you know, other heavy duty projects. For residential projects, like we mentioned, those are a little bit of a quicker turnaround. So we do want to have all those projects contracted by the end of 2026. So 2026 is the big year that we want to have everything complete by. So, oops, I'm trying to get to the next slide. All right. So I'll take it back to the clean air rooms expansion portion of the presentation, and open it up to any questions you all have or comments about the possible expansion. Like I mentioned, we will still be doing outreach to folks about the residential part of the program while trying to sign up different facilities that service like children and seniors for the more like commercial grade units. So we can do both at the same time. How do you all feel? Is this something that you would like to explore?
Hey, this is Hector.
Yeah.
So I know it's been a struggle. I would definitely like to move forward with this, but also if we can do another mailer like that was done before in conjunction with maybe moving some funds here. I know it's been a really big struggle to try to get people to sign up. Um, but I think if we can follow up on that mailer, I'd still be willing to support moving some funds for larger locations.
Thank you. Yeah, we can definitely explore another mailer that seemed to be successful in the community.
And this is Margot. Can I talk? Sorry.
Yeah.
I agree with Hector. I like that concept. I think we were talking about moving that way. And I, you know, 2020, I'm sorry, it's already September. So 2026 is right around the corner here. And I know we're waiting till the end of 2026. Can I ask what the status of the fundings for Shafter and Fresno is, and are they going to be losing a good chunk of their money? Because I do think that's what's going to happen to us with some of our heavy duty equipment that's not moving along.
This is Stephanie. Maybe I'll chime in. I think you all are aware of this. This is a very, you know, generally in all of the history of district programs, AB617 is a very new program. So we're still learning a lot with this process. Fresno and Shafter being our kind of year one communities, what we've worked with them on is kind of through this year 6, this next year, we are trying our best to try, this is a really good, important time to like a last push to try and finish out measures. Art's our commitment to continue on. Again, like Sarah was saying, it's a huge commitment of us to continue on with the residential measures as long as we can. So kind of what we've worked with them on is in this next year, really trying to wrap up a lot of the CERT measures, which is what we want to work with you all kind of in this, you know, next year, being 1 year behind. it's kind of a developing process. It's our priority to keep the funding in the Fresno community, but I do think with some of the liquidation deadlines that come up, we do not want the funding overall as a district to leave the valley. So as time gets closer, we'll start to reassess if again if there's not funding and ways that projects are moving. We do want to work with the Fresno and Chapter CSC to explore alternative projects that maybe are adjacent to those areas or other ways that we can find benefits in the valley, but we haven't quite gotten to that point in Fresno or Shafter to get there. So it's still a developing process, and again, we'll continue to work with you all. Margot, to your point about the heavy duty projects, I want you all to know we didn't have a direct update in this last meeting, but we pretty much every week have been in contact with Stockton Unified and the Kingsburg Truck Center. Wes, you all met him and he came to the meeting. We've been connecting pretty much almost weekly at this point to see what kind of movement we can get. They do take a little bit of time because they are a little bit more complex projects than just someone signing up for a purifier. But those are projects that we're still actively working on that we're hoping to bring updates soon. But as I've mentioned, we'll continue to work with you all and bring updates to you all if we get to a point that it maybe is getting a little concerning that we can't move forward projects. But that's why these conversations that we're having are super important, that we have opportunities with some of these other measures to make a direct impact now. It's something that we can work with you all to expand this. And I totally hear the sentiment, and I do think the approach of potentially expanding some portion of this funding to continue to get to other sensitive receptors while also still trying to push a little bit more outreach on the residential side is definitely something that we are happy to work with you on.
Are we looking at a vote tonight? What are we saying here?
This is Stephanie. I think it's been our general thought that we don't want to like rush the committee into making a decision. Should it be that folks are interested in kind of moving forward with this tonight, I think that we as a district are happy to kind of take your lead. So you all let us know if folks feel comfortable and don't have any, like Sarah's little graphic showed, if folks are feeling like love it, like let's move forward, like we're happy to take your lead on that. But if folks need a little bit more time to think about this, it's something that we can bring back officially next meeting. We'll kind of take folks, the CSC's lead on that.
Hi, this is Hector. So I would like to see if there's anyone here part of the steering committee. If they oppose this, just some general reasons on why they would oppose this, just so that we can continue the conversation. And if there are none, maybe we might even be ready to vote. Again, we're looking at less than a year. So I'm hoping that, we put it off another month, we're already in September. Can somebody raise their hand, those who feel either in opposition or maybe not quite ready to vote?
And thank you, Hector. And can I just add, hypothetically, say we make this change of the monies, and then all of a sudden we need 1,000 more air purifiers for residents. We still have a lot of money tied up in the heavy duty SERPs, and I have a feeling there's going to be money to move around going forward as well. So I was pretty hesitant about this move, way back when you started talking about it, Stephanie. But it sounds like a good plan at this point to me.
Dr. Farrell speaking. I would like to know the number of person that it will benefit and the number of person that it will affect. If someone can give me some statement on that, please.
Hey, Dr. Farrell, this is Sarah. If we do decide to open up the program on the application, we can have the facilities let us know how many folks
Can you speak louder, Sarah, please?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. I was just mentioning that if we do decide on expanding this program, the application that we can have the facilities fill out, we have it, we can tweak that and we can ask for the number of people that will benefit from the air purifiers. Like if it's a community space at a retirement facility, we can ask how many folks, participate or, frequent that space.
Mary speaking. Hector had a question along with my question. So what is the cost per unit? And I wouldn't be opposed to moving some money, but um, a quarter of it seems like quite a bit, like it's going to be a hassle. People don't think that we're going to be able to use the heavy duty. Why don't we just take that money from the heavy duty? And I also asked for a list, so there had to have some idea, where this 250,000 is gonna come, and also, what about the chargers? Can we put some more money on the chargers? And if we're gonna be doing a wholesale movement around, let's kind of take a look at the projects holistically. And we ask about e-bikes, because evidently that is crazy. People are crazy to get those e-bikes. And that seems like a great way to get cars off of the road. And in our flat and relatively mild climate that we have here.
Yeah, this is Jared's. Oh, go ahead, Steph. I was gonna say, yeah, this is Jared speaking. I'm hearing a lot of like good questions, good clarification, and kind of wanted to just circle back maybe to our temperature check and maybe if it's good for Sarah for you to maybe show that graphic again and just wanted to pause for a second and ask again if there was any opposition and maybe just like for us to hear some context for that. Maybe just took a good time to touch just on some of the other questions that were coming in. Yeah, and I did note that we normally do put some matters on the agenda to consider our votes, and so yeah, I wanted to pause for that as well. That yeah, that wasn't on the agenda, but I think since has been a consistent item, we're just trying to temperature check to see where folks were with the idea of consensus building. There was another question I wanted to highlight as well. I did see Hector ask what is the cost of the larger units. Not sure if we touched on that as well.
This is Stephanie. Sarah, do you want to quickly share? I'll maybe kick off of there is a little bit kind of as we think about this kind of expansion, a little bit of a difference between kind of our traditional residential, in which like residential, we're setting up one clean air room with a relatively small filter. The idea is to set up a clean air room in which that's kind of your space, your clean air room that you're setting up to kind of, if there's episodes of wildfires, poor air quality, and it's serving really the household. So thinking, I mean, traditionally households can range, but you might have two people living in a household, you might have six. We're kind of thinking in that range with, again, a relatively small purifier. Kind of with this expansion, we have the potential, we would seek to do kind of larger units to fit the actual space of the center. We wouldn't be doing kind of that's a smaller purifier for it's a bigger space that serves more people. So we'll have the potential to serve more people, but we'd look towards like bigger units. I do think, Sarah, do you have an estimate or a range of like the types of, I know it'll depend maybe on the size of the facility, but is there a range of pricing that you can share?
Yeah, so the smaller units, like if we're talking about like 500 to 800 square feet, which is a relatively small room, could be about like $800. But when we're looking at the larger like community spaces, those commercial air purifiers could range like a couple $1,000s just because they do have to have like a larger capacity and like larger filters. So they are more expensive.
And I guess, thanks, Sarah. And I guess maybe a couple of points of just maybe to respond to Mary about some thoughts about moving the funding. I think overall, our principles and kind of what we've strived to do in terms of kind of reallocating funds is really kind of seeing a need arise in the SERP. Overall, with the heavy duty measures, I know that we've described a lot of challenges, but we do hope to have applicants through that measure. So that's kind of why we at this time are proposing to kind of expand the program with a similar type of project. You know, residential air filtration is a similar type of thing in terms of like in improving indoor air quality. So that's kind of the nexus there is us already kind of seeing a natural challenge, us having this clean air room program open for several years now and kind of seeing the progress that we have. Again, it's a valuable program and we still want to do outreach there. But given that, you know, it's the goal of this measure is to improve indoor air quality, we see a potential to kind of expand, which is why we're proposing to you know move funding from there versus heavy duty trucks, which we really fingers crossed hope to still have the ability to be able to go through that program with some applicants in the boundary.
I would like to suggest we move forward with the vote. I know we've talked about it for the last couple of times, couple of meetings, correct?
Yes,
So I'd like,
this is Margot. I'll second that.
thank you.
Unless, but please, if anybody has objections, please speak up. Or, yeah. I think the key for me is that this is not going to take all the purifiers away from the residential area. We will still struggle to distribute the ones that we will have remaining, I think.
Mary here. I am wondering, you know, if since these are the residential are 10 by 10, so a small bedroom, why can't we allow for two air purifiers for residents instead of just one?
This is Stephanie. That's a really great question. And overall, we've had, and full transparency, that's a great question because we've had it come up across all of our other communities too. And generally, our thought and approach there is we want to make sure that everyone gets at least one. And not just that, I think on the residential side, we want to make sure that, you know, that it's reaching more households and we're reaching more people versus having people come back already for a second one. So that's kind of been the goal is we want to make sure that folks can get at least one purifier. And with this expansion, we're able to reach a whole new population. So I think that's always been the consideration and thought. I will say maybe in like, you know, 6 months or like maybe a year, perhaps if it gets to the case, like I think we're still open to exploring possibilities with the committee. But I think the goal has always been, we know there's people in the boundary that don't have one yet. So that's why we want to do, you know, we hear you to do more outreach, but our goal has always been to get, you know, one household, as many households as we can with at least one purifier.
This is Jared speaking. So you're tracking the chat and hearing from the group, it sounds like there is no opposition. And so it sounds like there is consensus to move forward with expanding the purifiers in the system, especially with the idea of still doing one last push with the mailers to the community. And so, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. I know we have been checking in about this for the past couple months, and I definitely can feel the care that the community has with wanting to make sure that these dollars are allocated in the best way as possible. So yeah, we really appreciate everybody's feedback, everybody's questions, and ideas on how to make sure that this program has the best use as possible. And so, yeah, let me be explicit with my language. Um, Another mailing, I shouldn't say just once. Thank you for flagging that, Mary Elizabeth. I appreciate that.
So what are we
Well,
saying here? Are we saying we're not going to vote on it tonight? Is that, I don't quite get all that.
Yeah, so I'll pass it to you, Amy.
Say it again, Jared.
Thanks, Marco. This is Amy. So Sarah, if you can show the temperature check. So given that we didn't put it on the agenda as an item to vote, we're really just checking the temperature, and it sounds like there is consensus. We haven't heard any opposition. So the committee at this point doesn't need a vote. You all are in agreement that you love this idea, and sure, you guys have questions. So the Air District will continue to address those questions in future meetings. But it sounds like we're hearing full support in the proposed expansion. So thank you all for being aligned in that. There's no requirement for a vote, given that you all have reached consensus.
So the fact that we do not have to vote means that the Air District can move forward on seeking those alternate locations at this point in time.
Absolutely. So that means that you are as a CSC supporting the proposed program expansion that Sarah explicitly laid out in all of the discussions that we just had.
Okay.
Thanks, Ned. But there is alignment. Thank you, Margot.
Thank you, everyone. And so I see it is about 6:53. Yeah, want to be mindful of folks' time. We have standing updates next, but I'm wondering in the interest of time, I'll pass it to you, Amy, so you come off mute.
Wait, I'm sorry, just real quick. Did we vote or have we voted or are we going to vote?
No, so given the way that we have organized ourselves, today's discussion, there was no proposed vote on the agenda. So it really was a temperature check to gauge where everyone's at. And there's full understanding of what the proposed change is. And so the ask was, how do you guys feel about the proposed project expansion? Do you have questions? Do you hate it? Do you love it? And where did this conversation go? The result is that there was alignment in the discussion, and we're hearing that the CSC is reacting well to the proposed change, that you all like it and want to make sure that the expansion happens. When we asked for opposition, we didn't hear an opposition, so that means that there is consensus. So per your charter, we don't have to move to a full vote because there isn't any opposition. However, if you guys
come on, I mean, I think I put 2 posts in there with some concerns about this. At least I'll go on record. I oppose.
Okay, that's what we need to hear. So concerns and questions, right? So Ned, thank you for clarifying, because we heard your questions, and those are questions that could be answered. So Sarah, if you go back, sorry, I don't have the slide with the temperature check. So if there are questions that are impeding your ability to say that you love this approach, that's what we wanted to hear, Ned. So it sounds like there is opposition, and so maybe you're not in love with this approach. So we need to bring it back for a full vote in September. We're in September, my goodness, in October, and that's completely okay because there wasn't a vote on the agenda for today. So we needed to explicitly hear that, Ned. So per your charter, we put a vote on the agenda. Unless you all want to move for a vote now, but per the charter, we'll put the vote on the agenda for October, and we'll go into an official vote because there is opposition from a member now. And then we can move from there.
This is Everett, and I understand what we're I don't want to muddy the water, but I was under the assumption that we had a motion on the table and there was a second, and so that's what I thought we were all. That was a consensus that we had all agreed. But I'm just I just want my thing is we don't want to leave any money on the table. We want to do what we have to do to make sure that we're following through with whatever we need to do for the community's sake. And I understand, Ned. So whatever we have to do, I'm with it 100%.
This is Stephanie. Yeah, thanks, Amy, for carefully explaining that process. I think overall, again, just based on the comments, we have just based on also the comments and then also your charter, we typically have sought we seek consensus first, and if it's the case that there are objections to that, then we move to voting. I'm just kind of reading in the room. I think there's generally a lot of support for this, but I do think there's enough wondering of kind of like, or and objection or maybe just wanting more information that I think we can plan to agendize this for October. And I do see some requests for some additional information, such as adding a proposed list of facilities for October. So I do think we do have that, and I'd love to work with you all on that as well. So that's something that we can provide as a part of this. Maybe my ask to you all is that if there's anyone that has any specific questions about their, like related to their objections, that if you can get us that information so that we can help prepare a helpful presentation, that would be helpful. Because I think we just love to know what maybe information you need more about to be able to make this decision. So let us know between now and then, and we can plan to formally agenda. Maybe this is my pre-warning to everyone is we will take this to an official vote in October's meeting with any information that you all might need to want to make this decision, which already someone has expressed interest in the list of facilities. And you let us know throughout the month anything else that you might want to see in October.
Yeah, and usually for the vote, Stephanie, you've brought a real full presentation, so I guess that's what we're looking for.
Yes, and we've tried to work with you all, maybe in full transparency, and where some of this is coming from is there are some committees across our AB617 communities that have just been so gung-ho that they let us know that they want to vote or they want to move forward with it instantly. And we've just, I think, wanted to work with you all of what makes sense. So I'm hearing right now that there's maybe some wanting to hear more information and come back kind of for a formal vote. So that's something that we can work with you on. So we'll bring this back in October.
Thank you all. And again, that's just part of the process. So thank you, Stephanie, this is Amy, for clarifying that again. And so you'll see that appear on the agenda. So in the interest of time, seeing that we have 2 minutes to wrap it up, we will be sending you via email to the Air District your set of action items and agency updates. So unless there's a pressing update from an agency that needs to happen right now, we're going to transition to wrapping up today's meeting. So I'll just give a few seconds for folks to see if there's a pressing update that has to happen now versus via email. And as a reminder, if you're an agency working in the boundary, you can send your updates directly to the Air District, and they will be included in the dissemination of the action items and follow-up that happens after this meeting. So at this time, we're going to transition to wrapping up our meeting. So we have our next meeting scheduled for Wednesday, October 1st at 5 p.m. via Zoom. We already know we have one agenda item for sure, which will be the voting on this proposed expansion. In addition to that, it is the annual report writing season, so we do expect the Air District to come with a presentation on the annual report of the SERP implementation. In addition to that, if you all have any agenda items or other topics that you would like to be included, please do let us know either in the chat now or go ahead and come off mute. I'll give you a minute to kind of think about that. And if you need more time, please feel free to email that to the Air District. As you all know, we're always looking for co-hosts. Since at the next meeting, we're going to have this agenda item to come to a vote, we'd love to have a community co-host. So please do reach out so that we can include you. So as we wrap up this meeting, just want to make space. This is a public meeting, so we do have public comment available. I am seeing a couple comments in the chat. And so someone from the public wants to know where the map is for Stockton on the website so they can bookmark that. So if we can put that in the chat, we'll make sure to get that out to the public. And then another person from the public wants to know who does the outreach in Stockton. So that would be the outreach team from the Air District. So we'll also put that response in the chat so that we can have that available. In addition to that, any other public comments from folks here on the Zoom?
Mary Elizabeth, I'd like to see an update on some CARB enforcement. So I put a link in there. I was at a meeting and they talked about, how many notices of violations that were issued by CARB, and, we don't hear too much, and that was all I could find. There evidently is some other place where there's even some more detailed data on CARB violations, what they do, just in terms of, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Elizabeth. We will be sure to reach out to CARB, and I know that CARB is here. So we'll talk to them and invite them to see if they can make it to the next agenda. Any other topics or comments before we wrap up tonight's meeting? All right, well, thank you everyone, and I really appreciate your flexibility in engaging this conversation around consensus building and providing your insights and your recommendations for the questions that you want addressed and the agenda items that you want included in next month's meeting. So we will talk to you all and see you on the screen next month. Have a good evening. Bye, everyone.
Okay, good night.
Night.
Good night, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next month. Bye, Everett.
Have a good one.